Hello everybody, here we are in Strathalbyn. It's day 3 of the Shannon's Adelaide Rally. Thank you very much for joining us. This is set to be an absolute cracker. You can see cars already lining up on the pre-grid ready to head up the stage. We've got 2 runs of the Strathalbyn Town stage, which debuted so successfully here last year. I'm Dan McCarthy, and alongside me is former competitor Nick Lenthal. Nick, it was such a success last year, we've decided to run it twice.
We have. We liked it so much we did it twice. Beautiful day down here in Strathalbyn. We're just sitting alongside the picturesque park around the Angus River, and looking forward to a wonderful day like only Adelaide can serve up in its spring weather. We've been so lucky, Dan. We've had perfect weather for 3 days for this event, and we have 414 cars to run through for you. So you have a feast of classic supercars, motorsport cars, and some really cool driving to watch as well during the day. Dan, last year we really got into the spirit of the thing in the town, and the town really embraced the event.
Certainly did, absolutely. Bringing a fair chunk of money to this area, this region, which is fantastic. I mean, this is the furthest stage from the Adelaide CBD, but it's really only a half-an-hour trip up the freeway, and here you are. It's not too far away, and it's a growing area, isn't it, around these parts?
It is growing. We were looking on our way down here at the amount of development, housing development along the way through Mount Barker and so on. But not only has the town embraced the rally, but the Alexandrina Council has been so supportive of the rally, and we really thank them. Without their support, we couldn't put on a stage like this. And it's, as Dan said, it's injected money into the town. It's not too late for you to come down. We're going to be down here all day. As Dan said, the cars are doing 2 runs through the super special stage, and there's a lunch break in between. So the cars will be standing still. You'll actually be able to get up and walk around Lamborghinis, Ferraris, McLarens, Lotuses, Bentleys. They're all there. Porsches, BMWs, all there for you to look at. Bring the kids. It's a real family day, and it's free. You don't pay any admission fee anywhere to watch the stage. We've got a live PA going as well as our live stream. So if you're at home, go to the Adelaide Rally Facebook page or to YouTube, and you can watch our live stream, and we can try and identify as many of the cars for you and give you a running commentary. But also, you're going to get up close and personal with the cars down here, and all the drivers are very, very gracious. They're very giving with their time and comments, and they would be only too happy to have a chat with you about how much they love this event.
Absolutely. Not just the rally going on here today, Nick. We've also got the Drive-In with Dixon event where there's several cars. You can might be able to see a couple in the Soldier Gardens down there, but there's a couple of very special guests also judging that.
There are, and for a bloke who can't kick or catch, that'll be as close as I'll ever get to Charlie Dixon. But also we have Craig Lowndes and his wife Lara, who are driving a current model Chevrolet Corvette as a tour leader for one of the tour groups. And Craig is here as an ambassador for the Prostate Cancer Foundation, who are a new sponsor. They've come on board this year, Dan, and we're very grateful for that, because we do have a fair percentage of blokes in this event. Not all blokes, but we do have a fair percentage of blokes, and blokes are renowned for not looking after themselves. They're too tough to care. And fellas, if you're over 50, you need to say to your GP, send me off for a blood test once a year so I can check my PSA level. And early detection is the key to prostate cancer.
Certainly is. Already cars heading up the hill, as you can hear. The flat 6 Porsche heading off up the stage, turning left immediately. It's a short, super special stage. This one, a couple of 90-degree left-handers to start the stage. They then head up the hill through a little temporary chicane, and then the quick flick right through the Shannon's Kink and up over the bridge. It's a short little stage, but it's a tricky one. There's a few challenging corners.
As I said to you earlier, Dan, it's a super special. It's purely so that the spectators can get right up close to the cars in a really compact situation, and it's not too far from a coffee shop at the same time. So there are numerous coffee shops around Strathalbyn. Bring the kids down. This is a fantastic family day. You're going to get entertainment for free all day, and there's a lot of really good vantage points as they go over the bridge, through a series of corners, right in the middle of the township. We're not out on a hills road, we're right in the middle of the township, and it's going to give your kids, I mean, I know what I was like when I was a kid. I just wouldn't have been able to get enough of this, and I was a petrol head from birth, so I was brought up with my brothers taking me to rallies and doing control points on rallies, and then I finished up driving in them. So you never know what might happen if you introduce your kids to rallying today.
Absolutely. There they go through the temporary chicane and then up towards the Shannon's Kink before they head up and over the bridge. A huge variety of supercars on display, as we can see, from Porsches to Lamborghinis to Ferraris and everything in between. This is the Zagami Tour. The Zagami Automotive Tour, a local branch where you can buy all of these exotic supercars that we are seeing here on display at the moment. And Nick, you're going to escape the commentary box now. You're going to head over to see the Driving with Dixon.
Yeah, I've just got a short walk of about 500 metres to go and find Charlie Dixon, and maybe even some of the entrants in the show and shine that's happening down on the banks of the Angus River, just alongside us. So Dan, I'll head off, and I'm going to catch up with you later on when we talk about the competition classes of the event.
Thank you very much, Nick. Have a good one. We'll touch base with you very shortly. We'll send you back to your natural habitat in and amongst the cars and seeing and feeling all of the action. And there is quite a lot to see and do here in the country town of Strathalbyn, a very historic town here in South Australia. And look at how picturesque it is, with the lake going through the middle as well, as the Lamborghini V10 powered machine heads up Catherine Street before turning left onto Donald Street. And then left once again, as you say, through that chicane. That's a lot faster through there than it was last year. That was a really, really tight temporary chicane. They've opened that up quite a bit this year, and that's really cool to see. So yeah, they're heading through there a lot faster. So we'll see the competition class with the stage times a lot faster later on. But for now, we've got the tours, and as we say, the Zagami Tour is the one to kick things off. I'm just watching the millions and millions of dollars in front of my eyes as they head on to Catherine Street and get set to go. McLaren there. We're looking at just a second ago. Something a little bit different. That's a Lotus. Oh, look at that. So I'm just seeing a Ferrari putting its roof down. That is very, very cool to see. With OMG, that's the same car I saw last year. But at the moment we are focusing on the Porsche. Heads into left-hander, flicks it left, flicks it right and then left. And then into the Shannon's Kink. What a great addition this is to the Shannon's Adelaide Rally. As we say, it debuted last year to great success, and back again in 2024, bigger and better.
Wait, if you do come back later during the day, you
can see the amount of fans that are lining up just to see these cars up close and personal from the start line. Up goes another Porsche. Brenton Griegel in that particular machine, a 911 Turbo S. He certainly knows how to drive, a familiar name to many, I'm sure, listening on the live stream. He's a tour leader this year. We should explain the tours. They're limited to 100 kilometers an hour, but particularly on a stage like this, you aren't going to touch those speeds, and that's the way that this event has been designed. The roads used are tight, twisty stages in nature, and it enables people to push their cars to the limit. Here is the 296 heading up the hill there's a couple of 296 Ferraris, which is really cool. Of course, they've started racing in GT3 competition last year internationally, and then this year as well with the Arise Racing team in the GT World Challenge Australia Series. So great to have a couple of 296 cars here this weekend. This is day 3 of the action. This the final day of what has been a spectacular event so far. I'm sure we'll continue to be here today. A bit of an old school Ferrari looking at the moment, a Ferrari F430 in Ferrari red, of course. Flicks it through the Shannon's Kink before going over the bridge, over the lake. It is in the middle of Strathalbyn. Great drone footage we are looking at on the live stream. Yes, if you are listening around the town of Strathalbyn to my voice, you can tune in to the Adelaide Rally live stream of this stage, either from the YouTube channel, type in Adelaide Rally on YouTube, or on the Adelaide Rally Facebook page. Those are the ways that you can watch all of the action here today, this morning and this afternoon, when we do the second loop of this iconic stage. As we say, it's only the second running, but already a real favourite of the drivers. They get to be up close and personal with the fans and really put on a bit of a show for them as well. They feel like superstars. That's what they were saying to us yesterday on the live stream. That's one of the great things about this stage. They can really put on a show and see the crowd's reaction in person. Up goes the next Porsche. That's Gary Patel behind the wheel. There's a bit of a Porsche theme at the moment. A few coming through, heading through the 90-degree left-handers. See a couple of cars on top of the hill in the Soldiers Memorial Garden. That is where the Driving with Dixon competition will be judged by both Dixon himself, the Port Adelaide football player, and the Lownses, Craig and Lara Lowndes. They're over there. Judging is just commencing now, or very soon anyway, 11 o'clock, and the announcement of the winners will be made at 12. Look at this lime green McLaren 720 heading up through the temporary chicane before putting, look at how quick it accelerates out of there through the Shannon's Kink over the bridge. There's another tricky chicane there as they go around the church. There's lots of cars down there at the Driving with Dixon competition this year. There's Tiranas, there's Commodores, there's all sorts of different machines that are being judged. So plenty to see and do. The Zagami tour appears to have come to a close. The next tour through will be the Solitaire Automotive Tour. That'll be followed by BMW Mini, Mercedes AMG, Porsche Centre Adelaide, Porsche Club, Hyundai, Honda, and the main tour. Beyond that, we really ramp things up, the Spirit Tour, and then we get on to the competition categories. And so far, it has been dominated by Alex Rouleau in his Hyundai i20N. Alex Rouleau, familiar name probably to a lot of you, the youngest ever supercars driver, and as well as that, now turned his attention to the Australian Rally Championship. Currently sits 5th in that series, but he's won almost every stage to this point of the event. His father, Peter Rouleau, is in second position, and he's in a ding-dong battle with Oscar Matthews, who won the event last year, and this year finding the challenge a bit more tough against the best that WA can throw and the best that Australia can throw at him as well. So he's in position number 3. Tom Dermody won a stage yesterday. He's in 4th position in his Ford Escort. He's also winning the Heritage class as well. Beyond that, we have former winner Lovell. He's in his Subaru WRX. He's in position number 5. Then we've got Andre Lukash in 6th. Ireland, another former winner, in position number 7 in his Mitsubishi Evo. Beyond that, we have Coulter in his Toyota Sprinter. Zach Hedge in his iconic 1985 Porsche 911, one of the best sounding cars here today. Then we've got Lowe in the unique Bath Berliner Corsa. That is something to behold, very much worth the wait, that one in itself. And then the Weirings, Cameron and Tanya Wearing, reigning out the field. They were inside the top 5 for much of the opening day, but unfortunately a tyre puncture in the longest stage of the rally. They had to pull over, change the tyre, and lost several minutes, and as a result reigning out the field. But they are still in the competition and very much enjoying themselves in their BMW E92 M3. So huge variety in the competition category, from Hyundai i20N Rally 2 cars, the very cars that the Rouleaus race in the Australian Rally Championship. And they've been tarmac spec'd for this weekend, because the Australian Rally Championship is a gravel championship. So nevertheless, we spoke to Alex Rouleau yesterday, and he was saying that the car is really nice on these tarmac roads. So he is very much enjoying himself, going back to his roots as a circuit racer, of course. Great to see so many people here today in the town of Strathalbyn once again. And thank you for tuning in either on the live stream or listening to me over the PA in Strathalbyn. But it's a lovely picturesque city, been around for couple of centuries. It was one of the earliest inhabited South Australian towns. As I can see in front of me, that we're not too far away from the next group of cars heading up the stage, the Solitaire Automotive Tour. This has a range of different machines, but we're going to kick things off with their Aston Martin range. And as well as that, we've got a few Jaguars, Cupras as well. There's plenty to enjoy in Solitaire Automotive. Aston Martin, Audis, Alfa Romeos, Jaguars, Cupras, they'll all be heading through the stage in a matter of moments. So lots to look forward to over the next hour or so. And as we say, this is the first run through of the day. There will be a second run through later on this afternoon. You can hear that the first car is beginning to head up the climb. It's only a little bit of elevation compared to some of the stages that we've had, but there is certainly an incline to the end of the stage over the other side of the lake, through the chicane and up that side of town. That's where we are located here at the start line. There's a lovely Aston Martin heading up there. Looks exactly like the Formula 1 safety car, even the same colour green as well. There's the V12 Vantage heading up there now. That sounds absolutely fantastic. And the first of the Jaguars there, swinging through the 90-degree left-hander from Catherine Street onto Donald Street. These guys, I just noticed out the commentary box in the red Jaguar heading up the hill, they're wearing the goggles old school, like they did, of course, in Formula 1 and other racing categories in the 50s, the old spectacles, the old goggles. So it's good to see people getting into the swing of things. There's a few old supercars, not just modern machines as well. At the moment we're in the Solitaire Automotive Tour, as I say, which are very modern supercars, sports cars, SUVs, but we'll see some classics to come in a few minutes, particularly as we move on to the main tour and the Porsche Club Tour, as well as the Audi RS6 sits at the start line. Oh, sorry, yeah, RS6 that is. About to head up the hill. It's a good takeoff. Garnet Patterson. Alongside him is David Bacon. Garnet Patterson, a very good GT3 driver, a familiar name to some, and that's why he is absolutely bolting up there through the Shannon's King, up and over the bridge, through the chicane, past Church. It's the shortest stage on the rally, but one of the real favourites from the drivers, and you can see we are right in the heart of the town as well. There's fans at every single corner. This one here is a popular one, the Shannon's King. And then over the bridge, and then the chicane past Church. Past the Church chicane, as I call it. And there's a tricky little left-hander to finish the stage as well. Solitaire Tour continues to head through this stage. A huge turnout of Solitaire automotive machines this weekend, which is really good to see. There's 26 in total of them. So, as we say, these are just the tours, but soon there will be the competition category cars coming through. So they are not too far away, but we're seeing the 26 sports cars heading up there at the moment. So as we say, there's this currently going on, the stage, but there is the driving with Dixon show and shine within the Strathalbyn Soldier Memorial Gardens also taking place. Judged by Port Adelaide player Dixon, and then as well Craig and Lara Lowndes. Lara will be judging the ladies that are taking part. Craig Dixon himself will be judging the remainder of the competitors. That will take place from 11 until midday here in the heart of Strathalbyn. And there we can see that's just the end of the stage. These guys are sent up in 4-second intervals. And you can see now the other side of this stage through the Church chicane, and then there's a quick flip-flop to finish. You can see the brakes being modulated there, on and off at the end of the stage. Look at the amount of fans lining the fence lines. This is the start line though. This is where they launch from, up towards Donald Street. They start on Catherine Street, and they've got a couple of stages between when they come back. So this is the Strathalbyn stage. They've already this morning been to the legendary Mount Lofty stage. They've been to the country town of Mylor, and then they've made the trip up here. It's the longest little liaison section they have actually in the entire rally, just over 30 k's between Mylor and here. And then just outside of Strathalbyn there's a small town called Macclesfield, and it's been extended this year, the Macclesfield stage, to 7.4 kilometres in length. So heading straight from here, it's only a 2.5k drive, and then on the Macclesfield stage they'll do that for 8 kilometres, then they'll regroup back here in Strathalbyn on the main street. All 419 cars will be lined up in the main strip, and then we'll let them loose once again for the second run through the Strathalbyn town stage. They'll then do the second run of Macclesfield before heading to the Warrawong stage, and then end things at Sturt Valley, which is near Stirling. And then the end of the event will take place in the Rymill Park in the centre of Adelaide, in the Adelaide Parklands. That's where the presentations will be made. While I've been talking you through that, we have moved on now to the BMW Mini Tour. This contains a huge variety of BMW products, from the M2 all the way up to the M6.
Dan, I'm down here on the banks of the River Angus with a few stars. I have with me Craig Lowndes, Lara Lowndes, and Port Power star Charlie Dixon. Charlie, you're a bit away from the footy field today, but I understand you are on the stretch. Tell us a bit about what driving with Dixon is doing here today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a passion, addiction, I guess I should say. Driving Dixon, we've got our show and shine down here, thanks to the Adelaide Rally, obviously, and we've just got a bunch of people out here showing their amazing cars, and myself are going to go around and do some judging. So, yeah.
Fantastic. There must be, I guess, 70, 80 cars down here, all spread around the banks of the river. It's a beautiful thing to watch. You've got to come on down and have a look. And we'll be coming back later on today for the judging and the presentation. Now, Lara, I understand that you are the judge.
Yeah, so really exciting this year. We've done a ladies only owners category. So yeah, I have my red pen and I'm willing to use it. So there's some pretty tough competition actually. I had a little cheeky look at the list. So yeah, looking forward to getting out there and having a look at, ladies represent. Excellent.
Fantastic. And Craig, will you be throwing in any advice along the way, or will you just be looking at how fast you think that might go?
Well, there's got to be the modification side of it, but also the standard side of it. And it's sort of a high level of commitment keeping a car standard. Because always the first thing you want to do is put some wheels on it, you want to lower it, you want to put an exhaust on it, upgrade the engine. So it's going to be interesting. I actually like the old school standard stuff.
You're a man after my own heart, Craig. But in terms of the driving, you've been in a very nice shiny silver Corvette this weekend. How have you enjoyed the roads?
It's been really good. We did the Prima Tour on Friday. Yesterday we joined the main tour, and it's great to go through the stages, obviously capped at 100 kilometres an hour, but the Z06, it's good for a bit more than that. But look, it's been great that we're both here and Lara's navigating for us. So far, touch wood, we had no problems.
Well, we know that you're a repeat visitor to the Adelaide Rally, and I know that all the fans and all the spectators love to have you along. Thank you so much for coming along, guys.
Oh, thank you for having us. Yeah, we've had a ball.
Charlie, thank you for coming as well, and maybe when we get together later in the day we'll talk a bit more about Chuck's Garage and your newfound passion.
Perfect.
Thanks very much, guys. Over to you, Dan.
Thanks very much, Nick. Great to have Charlie Dixon, Lara Lowndes, and 7-time Bathurst 1000 winner Craig Lowndes here in Strathalbyn today. They are currently in the Soldiers Memorial Garden. So if you want to see those cars that they are judging, they'll be there for the next hour, looking through all of those cars closely to see which is presented the best. And awards will be given around midday. So they've got their work cut out, and Craig will be here for the rest of the day until the end of the second run through. And then he will also have a little run up there later on this afternoon. So plenty to see and do in the town of Strathalbyn, not only on the rally itself, but with the Dixon Drive-In with Dixon presentation as well. So lots to see and do at the moment. The BMWs and the Minis, as part of the BMW Mini Tour, are heading up the Strathalbyn town stage at the moment. And a huge variety of BMWs and Minis from old and new. But it's great to see some M2 cars, some M3, M4, M5 and M6s as well. Of course, BMW on the production car side have dominated the Bathurst 6 Hour in recent years. In fact, the Bathurst 6 Hour has always been won by a BMW of some description. That's the relatively new endurance race that takes place every Easter on Easter Sunday. It's a great event on the mountain, and this brand has dominated that all the way through. But of course, BMW have a lot of motor racing history, and not only in the Australian Touring Car Championship but globally as well. Of course, Jim Richards famously drove quite a few BMWs successfully in the mid to late 80s, and as well as that, internationally we've seen a lot of BMWs race around the globe. Most recently they are competing in the 12 hour as well. Valentino Rossi has raced a BMW at the 12 hour and is planning to do so again next year. But pretty cool that the two-wheel star, the 9-time motorcycle world champion, is turning his attention to four wheels and doing a very good job of it as well in recent times. Driving his BMW in GT3, his BMW GT3 machinery, not only in the World Endurance Championship, but in GT World Challenge Europe as well. Look at the crowd, they're already lining the fences, and we're 6, 7, 8 people deep already. The town of Strathalbyn has certainly got behind this event once again in 2024, which is absolutely awesome to see. But at the moment, you can see the cars are lined up and are ready to head up this stage. It's a short little blast, this one, but an iconic stage already, just because of the crowd, the atmosphere that this event brings to the country town of Strathalbyn. And we can see the next BMW lined up on the grid. Revs rising, and we're underway. Pretty fast first corner there, dab of the brakes into the second left-hander. Flicks it through the chicane, through the right, through the left, and into Shannon's kink. There's a bit of a dab of the brakes just to settle the car, and then over the bridge now, through the church chicane, and towards the left-handed kink to finish what is a short blast up the Strathalbyn town stage. There's some awesome noises coming from the start line, but also up the back section. There's a huge crowd there up near the church over the other side of the bridge. So looking at the BMW just going through the chicane. Look at this old classic on the screen now. The 1971 BMW 3-litre CS Coupe, driven by Chris Greening. And we turn our attention now to a couple of Minis as well, so huge variety in the BMW Mini Tour. Great to have them a part of the event once again. As Craig alluded to, the tours are limited to 100 k's now, but the competition categories are still to come. These are just the tours. These are the folk that own these cars that get to drive them. The great thing is, though, the main tour that's coming up in the not too distant future, there's 68 cars entered in that this year. That's for people like myself, car enthusiasts. We can enter our own car in the rally. You don't have to be associated with a brand like these are, the BMW Mini, or now I think we're about to move on to the Mercedes Tour. You don't need to have a Mercedes or a BMW or a Ferrari or anything like that. If you've got a Volkswagen Golf or anything like that, you can enter that car in the Shannon's Adelaide Rally, which is a great initiative. The main tour allows people like you and me to take part in the event as well and drive all 30 stages of the rally. There's over 140 competitive timed stages this weekend. 140 kilometres of timed stages this weekend. And in total they do 660 kilometres around the Adelaide Hills. It's grown from last year, 20 more competitive kilometres and 10 more liaison roads as well. So plenty to see and do as we move on to the Mercedes Tour. Hill they go once again. These Mercedes cars now. Yeah, he's left the roof on. I can see some people looking to be dropping those roofs. There's quite a few convertibles here as part of the Shannon's Adelaide Rally this year. Nick, I believe you're over in the gardens. What have you found?
Jamie, I'm down here with a bit of a Ford-Holden battle going on. I've got a couple of Bathurst-style cars down here. I'm with Jamie and Ben and Amelia, and we have a couple of pretty cool rare cars in the Driving with Dixon show and shine. Tell us about the GT500 Cortina, the real thing. These are the cars that won Bathurst, Dan. Tell us about your car.
Yes, this is the first ever Bathurst homologation special. Harry Firth built 100 for Ford to meet the homologation rules back in 1965. Unfortunately, these cars won outright in a 1965 race.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
So, 1500
it is.
cc,
yes.
camp
Yep.
block,
It is.
crossflow, pre-crossflow.
Pre-crossflow.
Pre-crossflow, wow. We're going right back. And alongside we have the basis of the cars that went on to win Bathurst in the years to come. Tell us about an LC Tirana GTR.
Yeah, so this is the LC GTR. I suppose it was one of the Bathurst winning cars in the 70s, but this one's a GTR spec, not actually one, but it's been built with a bit of a sort of race car theme with the engine, and yeah.
Now, who doesn't love to see triple Weavers with wide open ram tubes on an engine, Dan? That is the stuff that dreams are made of. Millie, how do you fit into all this? Do you just get dragged along, or do you like it?
I like it
You like
because it goes really fast.
You can't say that on television.
But it does.
On the racetrack, okay. And obviously Holden's your favourite. You're going to be a Holden person?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Look, it's great to have you guys along, and you've really helped to make up the whole day. The atmosphere down here is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been great. Weather's brought it on, so it's been a really good day.
And it couldn't be in more beautiful surroundings, Dan. The little township of Strathalbyn, 6,500 people, probably brought another 6,000 along today, who knows. But we're going to go and look for some more cars down here, enjoying the sunshine. Come on down, folks, it's not too late. We'll be here all day. Back to you, Dan.
Thanks very much, Nick. Yeah, absolutely. We can see a stationary car at turn number 1. So that will just be towed off the stage, and so there'll be a short little delay here. But yeah, I think there's a few real good points touched upon there, Nick. Absolutely, it brings so many people to the town of Strathalbyn. I think I can see 6,000 people in front of me on the start of the stage. So plenty of people watching these cars roar away from the start line. But that Mercedes has come to a halt out there at turn number 1. That's car number 126. That's a Mercedes A45S AMG of Paul Sarek, and alongside him is Nana Sarek. So fortunately not quite how they envisaged their run-up Strathalbyn to go, but nevertheless they are enjoying themselves. They've been really pushing that Mercedes through. It's in a very unique colour scheme, and it really does stand out here at the Shannon's Adelaide Rally. Shannon's, they understand our passion. Everyone here is a motoring enthusiast, and they understand our passion. They'll also not only cover your road car, but they'll also cover your engine and anything else that you might need, such as your race car, anything like that. Shannon's have you covered. I can just see the tow truck in front of me just about to head up the stage, so that car can't be literally towed off, so they're just going to send up the recovery vehicle, the flatbed, making its debut on the Strathalbyn town stage. So a small little delay, but don't you worry, we will get these machines back up onto the stage very soon. SA Motorsport tyres are a sponsor of this event this year, jumping on board. They are your tyre suppliers based in Dudley Park. They do a fantastic job with motorsport tyres, and there's plenty of those on the competition cars here this weekend. Of course, there's a lot of things to keep an eye on in the Strathalbyn town stage. 419 cars coming through the stage. So as we say, this is the second running of the Strathalbyn town stage. Here's a little bit of information about it.
Beauty of the Adelaide Hills, this charming town has always been a haven for motoring enthusiasts. This year, the Adelaide Rally is rolling out the red carpet for a thrilling, high-octane spectacle town stage. Watch as these incredible cars navigate the twists and turns of the Angus River and tree-lined streets. This event isn't just for the motoring enthusiast, it's a celebration for the whole family. Bring the kids, bring the grandparents, there's something here for everyone.
Certainly is something here for everyone, and it will continue throughout the day as well. As we say, the second run through will conclude at around 3 o'clock. So if you're watching on the live stream and you're around the area, Mount Barker, even if you're in the city, to be honest, it's only a half an hour drive up the freeway to Strathalbyn. So we're here for a few more hours yet, so make sure you head up here and enjoy what there is to offer for yourselves. It's a great family day out, and what a spring day it is here. Sun is out, blue sky, very few clouds in the sky as well. The spring weather is certainly here in Adelaide, and of course this is the build-up, really, the start of motorsport season in South Australia and Adelaide. With the Adelaide 500 next weekend as well. Of course, Craig Lenz will be sticking around for that as part of the broadcast team. Great to have him a part of the event in 2024. And last year we had Todd Hazelwood a part of the event, now a Bathurst 1000 winner, of course, doing so with Brodie Kostecki on the mountain. A 2024 great race that was a real racer fans race. There was not too many safety cars, but strategy played out throughout the race. It was an old school Bathurst 1000, you could say, but with cars pushing 100% all the way through. Very little respite throughout the 1,000 kilometre endurance race. And we here in the Adelaide Rally do 660 kilometres over the 3 days of action. We had 11 stages on Friday, including 2 runs of the 20 kilometre Cherryville Plus stage. Saturday there were many highlights. The Wairoa Town stage, as well as the Windy Point stage, a road I know very well. I'm a local around that area. A great road, even when you're doing the speed limit of 60 kilometres an hour on the left-hand side of the road. I can't imagine what it's like to blast up there using both lanes, doing 100 kilometres an hour. That would be an absolute blast, to say the very, very least. And there's plenty of stages like that. That's the great thing about the Shannon's Adelaide Rally. You get to take your car on the roads, use both sides of the road. You don't need to worry about traffic. You don't need to worry about cars coming in the opposite direction, any trucks or anything like that. It's just you and the great open road. And somebody who has experienced that is alongside me. I'm Dan McCarthy, but former competitor in the Shannon's Adelaide Rally, Nick Lenthal. Nick, I imagine to drive all of these stages, having both lanes to yourself and pushing your car to its limits, it must be something to behold.
It's an absolute privilege, Dan, I can tell you. And Windy Point, one of my favourites too. We're talking to Richard Lovell yesterday, former winner of the event, and he said that's my commute road each day, and he was looking forward to it. He wanted to set a new record. And interestingly, Alex Rouleau, for a change, wasn't quickest on that stage, but he has been monopolising the others. But Windy Point stage, one of my favourites, because in a little car, 2-litre car that's only 200 horsepower, you haven't got anywhere near as much horsepower as a V8 or a turbo car. Downhill section, yes, I'll have a go at that, thank you. So a great stage, lined with spectators, because it's kind of a natural amphitheatre. And then you get down to the lookout itself at Windy Point, and that of course is full of people. And there's a braking area there where you have to go in through a speed zone before you turn into the right-hander and head down through the S's down to the hairpin. And one of my great memories of the rally is heading into the hairpin at full tilt and having a guy on the cliff face waving his jacket over his head, doing a Kevin Sheedy style tribute to us. And those kind of things stick with you. But look, the guys obviously from whom we've spoken to the last few days, all the drivers who I might add have been very gracious and very giving of their time when I've asked to interview them while they were lining up to start a stage. They're all thoroughly enjoying the roads. They've had perfect weather. Alex Rouleau, who is a newcomer to the event, loved the roads. He said, I can't even remember the names of the stages, but I loved it all. So, Dan, I think we've got more newcomers to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're just tuning in or just arriving in Strathalbyn, or Nick, you might not even know yourself as you were down there soaking up the action down there with Charlie Dixon, Lara Lowndes and Craig Lowndes. This is the reason for the small delay. This car just coming to a halt, the 126 machine of Paul Sarek and Nara Sarek in their Mercedes A45 AMG. So as you can see, that is now on the flatbed truck and will be towed away. So we're not too far away from a resumption of play here in the Strathalbyn Town Stage, stage 25 of 30 for the event. We are now coming to the end, Nick, and you sort of touched on it. Alex Rouleau is the man to beat at the moment.
Look, there's two things involved here. One is Alex Rouleau is a very, very good driver, and as you pointed out to me, Dan, the youngest driver into V8 supercars. He was winning Tier 3 races when he was 14.
Correct.
So, he's a bit of a steerer, we can safely say. But he's also got state-of-the-art machinery in the Hyundai i20N Rally 2 car. So just to give you a bit of perspective on that, guys, if you were rallying in the European Rally Championship or the German Rally Championship, that's your standard. The Rally 2 standard cars are what the weapon of choice for guys who want to win those championships. So it's only in the big World Championship events that you see the prototype style WRC cars, which are a complete build. They're something else again. But those Hyundais have been absolutely flying, Dan.
Yes, they certainly have. As well, it's the second tier Category 2 WRC, isn't it? WRC2 run these Rally 2 cars, and we see these Hyundais that are on our roads, or will be later on, that compete very, very successfully in the WRC2 category. They've taken round wins in those cars, and you often see them inside the top 10 overall at the end of weekends in the WRC results as well.
Absolutely, you do. With attrition and the quality of the drivers in those Rally 2 cars, a lot of whom are previous WRC drivers.
Correct, yeah.
And they're just showing you just how good they are, that they can get on the heels, snapping at the heels of WRC cars. Now, one thing that's good, will be good to watch on the live stream today, Dan. We talked yesterday, you asked me, how different is it to set up a car for rallying to a circuit car? Circuit cars are quite stiff. In fact, they're very stiff, and they will even use things like toe out on the wheel alignment to turn into corners. When you watch these two Rouleau cars go through today, one of the things you'll notice is how compliant they are. Even though they sit relatively flat, you'll see the suspension moving all the time. They've got travel in the suspension. The bump rates are such that they can absorb bumps, undulations in the road. You know, when you've got tree roots growing under the road and it gets pretty sketchy, they're not too stiff. They are absorbing all the bumps. And if you also watch in an old school car, our famous Irishman Tom Dermody, in his Ford Escort Mark II. Now, let's get this straight. That's no ordinary Ford Escort Mark II. That's probably somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 car. But you watch the way that car absorbs bumps and rolls through corners. The suspension is moving all the time. It's going through its travel all the time. More traction, more grip, safer and less exhausting to drive.
Yeah, absolutely. The Strathalbyn area, there's lots to see and do, but there is a little motor museum in the town of Strathalbyn, the Gilbert's Motor Museum. Here's a little bit about the...
Gilbert's Motor Museum is located in the heart of Strathalbyn, and if you're a petrol head, this place is designed for you. It contains classic motorcycles, vintage cars, muscle cars, and everything in between. Notable displays include cars from the Rowley Park Speedway and the archive collection dedicated to legendary flag waver Glenn Dix.
I saw that Glenn Dix collection as we were driving past the museum earlier on the way into the stage, Nick. It looks pretty impressive, that little motor museum, particularly the Glenn Dix display. What an iconic flag waver he was, world renowned for his flag waving at the Adelaide Grand Prix.
It's incredible, Dan. When we had the first Grand Prix here, the first F1 Grand Prix, I don't think anyone had ever seen a flag waver like Glenn Dix.
No.
He just about waved over the top of the finishing car with a flourish, and it became quite a, as they would say in social media, viral. He was renowned all over the world, and a huge history with motorsport in South Australia. Glenn Dix, still a part of it, and has been a renowned cult figure for a long time. I've seen so many Facebook posts saying, down at the Gilbert Motor Museum today in Strath, got to come and have a look at it. Very, very diverse range of motor cars they've got down there. And it's only just around the corner from us, Dan. In fact, we parked very close to it. Strathalbyn is quite compact. Just to give you an idea about the history of the town, Strathalbyn was founded in 1839. So we're talking only 3 years after South Australia was proclaimed a state. It was essentially a Scottish population, and hence there was a bit of mining that followed, but essentially it's a pastoral and farming type region, part of the Alexandrina Council, who, as I said earlier, have been very, very kind to the Adelaide Rally and have embraced the whole idea of the rally. The people who started the town of Strathalbyn had a very balanced outlook. The first two buildings they built were the pub and the church. So, it was a very balanced society to live in. Look, 6,500 people today, and really, we thank you so much, Strathalbyn, for embracing the rally the way you have, and I hope that the boost to tourism in your economy is a good reward for what you've done for us.
Well, economic footprint last year of just shy of $250,000 to the region of Strathalbyn, and with a couple of runs through, being here all day, I'm sure we can beat that this weekend as well. So pretty cool that so much we can tip in so much to this economy as we see that the cars are back out on the stage. Good news, everybody. The stage has resumed. The car has been cleared away, and we are now moving on to the Porsche Tour. And listen to this, flat six.
You can see the number of people in the start line shots there, that we've got people all around us. We are looking at as the cars move up to the start line of the stage, but we also have the rest of the stage on our monitor. But there's people everywhere. There's standing room only, and there's sort of 3 or 4 deep on the start line to the stage. As I said earlier, you're never far from a coffee shop in Strathalbyn, which makes it a good destination. Never far from a pub either. So if you just want to come down and have a meal and watch some rally cars, go for a walk along the Angus River and have a look at the Driving with Dixon display, the entrance in that. There's plenty to look at.
Just looking at the current 2024 Porsche 911 Carrera, can't find a more modern Porsche than that one. We started things off with the Porsche Centre Adelaide Tour before we move on to the Porsche Club Tour. So these are your more modern Porsches, and then the Porsche Club Tour, that's got a few modern ones but a few old classics as well.
Yeah, well, there's a Porsche 356C in the field, which dates right back to the 50s, I think. Yeah,
yes.
Probably
no, 64, the one that we've got.
Okay, one of the 2 older cars in the field, I think. And we also have a Renault Alpine as well. So if you're a French car enthusiast, that's a car you're not going to see very often. Get down here, have a look at it. We even have a modern Alpine to see. But yeah, the Porsches, beautiful range of cars, unmistakable 911 silhouette. And even though they change every panel every couple of years, they're still unmistakably a 911. You can spot them from a mile away, and that flat six sound is it says tough in large letters, doesn't it there?
It certainly does. As you've seen the last couple of cars go through from Porsche Centre Adelaide, and then we'll be on with the Porsche Club Tour, and that's not too far away. In fact, here is Vic Moore, the first one from the Porsche Club Tour. heading into the first turn. The car on the bumps there, just coming ever so slightly unsettled. It's a tricky little stage, this one. There's a few little bumps here and there just as you're turning into the apex of the first corner, through the Shannon's Kink, Nick, and over the bridge through the church chicane. And then there's the little short chute, the double chicane here, the kink at the end of the stage. I've given a few corners names already, Nick. You got the the Shannon's Kink, so they come around here off Donald Street. They have the short blast to the temporary chicane, and then this next corner, Nick, the Shannon's Kink.
Shannon's Kink. And look, social media being what it is, there are people on the other side of the world watching this, Dan, and how beautiful does Strathalbyn look as these cars roll through the streets?
And the sun's come out as well for it. It really has come to play with us today. As you say, just shows what a lovely town this is, and we're so thankful that the Alexandrina Council has been so supportive of this event. They've chipped in a bit of money as well. All the water barriers have been supplied by them.
They don't come for free, and they get moved around a lot during the event. They're in one stage one day, and then they're all picked up and taken to another one the next day. So we thank the Alexandrina Council for embracing the event the way they have. Bit upset this year, Dan, that we don't have the Great Duck Race as we did last year. Real tragedy, but don't despair. You can come down for the Duck Race in December, not far away.
Instead, this year, we've got a more car-themed thing with the driving with Dixon, as we say, Charlie Dixon, Port Adelaide footy player down there with Craig and Lara Lowndes. They're currently judging as we speak. Nick, did any take your eye in particular?
All of them. But there is a car down there, a vintage car, which is a Beam from Collectible Classics, and that car has just been driven from England to Australia. So it's on the other side of the river to us. If vintage cars are your thing and you want to go and look at and just be astounded by what an old car can do, go and have a look at that car. There's a bit of history there about it. You can have a look at it, and there's everything in between as well.
Absolutely, Nick. Absolutely echo those remarks.
Old school Tiranas, XA Falcon GTs, Valiant Chargers. There's a Mark 1 GT 500 Cortina, the Bathurst prototype car that they only built 100 of, who we interviewed earlier in the day. Charlie Dixon's down there with his F250 truck, and well, that's his daily. That's his daily that he drives through the hills of Stirling. I see him every now and again. And look, there's an absolute plethora of cars down there. Chevy Corvettes, Audis, Holden 1-tonners. There must be 3 or 4 Ford Escort RS2000s there. So there's a real mix. There's something there for everybody. And look at how beautiful is that shot of the Angus River. What a spectacular little town this is.
I keep calling it a lake, but it is the Angus River, isn't it? It's a lovely part of the town, this lovely country town. A very historic country town, Nick. I can see the building just to our left, established back in 1883.
And if you feel like you've seen it before, this street that we are sitting in, I don't know if our cameraman can give us a shot of the street where all the people are now mingling. This street was covered with gravel, especially, and they changed the lighting in the street to film Picnic at Hanging Rock. So they wanted it to look like something from the 1800s. And so if you feel like you've seen this street before, you have in a movie, Picnic at Hanging Rock. Rich history.
Yeah, a very rich history, as you say, Nick. And we're seeing the drone footage of the car going around. That's one of our tour followers to complete that run. But there's been so much to see and do already here. There's, as you say, so many coffee shops, so many little cafes and stores, bookshops, everything you want here in Strathalbyn. It's a lovely little village. It's got your general supermarkets and everything. It's a proper little village.
Well, when you're doing recce for the rally, a lot of co-drivers describe that as a bakery tour, because you simply drive from one town to the next and check out the bakery. Dan, while I was down on the river, did you talk about what stages the guys are doing today?
I've spoken about what they've done, but I've not spoken, Nick, about what is to come.
Okay. Well, they're doing the Strathalbyn town stage, then they go away from here and do the Macclesfield stage, which is nearly 8 kilometres. A fabulous stage. One of the icon stages of Classic Adelaide and the Adelaide Rally in the later years. They come back and do Strath again, and then they're off to do Macclesfield again, Warrawong and Sturt Valley this afternoon. So if you wanted to watch Macclesfield, you could be there. The first tour car goes through for the second time at 1:22. If you can find a road junction where you can watch that. But yeah, they've already done Mount Lofty. Again, one of my favourite stages, 8 kilometres uphill from Stonyfell to the Mount Lofty summit. And a well-loved stage by drivers. It's all uphill, which is kind of a little bit reassuring when you're going flat out. Always feels a bit more natural than when you're going flat out down a hill. But yeah, they've had some great stages already today, Mount Lofty and Milo, and now they're just running through this little spectator super special at Strath.
Yeah, it is a great addition to the Shannon's Adelaide Rally. Now, Nick, we haven't really spoken about the fact that in Rally HQ at the Adelaide Showground, they're keeping an eye on every single vehicle due to Rally Safe, and as well, Leader Computers a big help in doing that. They're a local Adelaide branch, Leader Computers. All up-to-date software, computers and everything that you need, and it's great to have them support the rally. They supply all the monitors, all the computers and everything down in Rally HQ, and it enables us to know exactly what is going on with all the cars at all times. It's a big effort to make all of this happen. This year we have 375 volunteers to make this event happen. They do a magnificent job. While we're here at this stage, of course, the previous stages are still being completed by the competition categories, and as well the cars we've already seen, those Zagami Tour cars, those Solitaire Automotive Tour cars, they're already going through the next stages. They're completing the Macclesfield stage, and they'll be regrouping back here in a few moments time before the second run of this stage. It's a huge operation. I was just saying, Nick, 375 volunteers, and they're all over the city of Adelaide at the moment, setting up different stages as we go.
And you know, some of those volunteers, Dan, are out every day.
Yeah.
They've done Friday and Saturday and Sunday, different stages each day. And as I mentioned yesterday, Martin Waldy, one of those guys he would do a stage on Friday, another one on Saturday, another one on Sunday, and he's done it for 15 years. So they are an army of people who love the sport. A lot of them are former competitors, and they just can't get away. Like it's like a rope limit that just pulls them back each year. But they love it. And as you mentioned, Rally Safe and Leader Computers. Now, for those of you who are not rally aficionados, there's been a lot of development over the last 10 or so years using electronics and digital technology. Rally Safe is a little box that sits in a rally car. It sits in front of the co-driver, and it has displays like what distance have you covered, what is the time for the stage, how long until your start time, and so on. So in theory, these cars that are forming up on the start line could actually do this stage without any control keeper at the start of the stage and any control keeper at the end, because as their start time comes up, that start time appears on your screen. So it will say, okay, at 10:33 that is your start time, and at 10:32 and a half, a 30-second countdown will come up on your screen. It'll count you down, and at 0 it goes to green and go. You drive through the stage flat out, and at the end of it, when you cross the flying finish, it records your time, sends it back to Rally HQ with their host of computers down there, and they know exactly what's happened. But not only that, if you stop on a stage, Rally HQ knows straight away. If you have an incident on a stage, they can even tell there's been an impact at Rally HQ. If you stop and there's a problem, a co-driver can press SOS on Rally Safe. Everybody knows instantly. The first intervention vehicles are notified immediately. You can even tell Rally HQ if you need fire assistance as well. So, and some of those things, Dan, have come in even in the last 3 years since I stopped competing. So huge advancements in rally technology, and Rally Safe, which came out of Tasmania, is now used in many other parts of the world.
That's right, yeah, a local Australian built product. As we hear the revs rise and the final few Porsche Club Tour cars are heading up the hill. As I say, it is a bit of an incline, isn't it, Nick? From the moment you start the stage, you are heading uphill all the way. There is a little bit of elevation to the end of this stage over the other side of the Angus River as we see the Porsche flick through the Shannon's Kink and over the church chicane. Sorry, around the church chicane before the little flip-flop chicane to finish. Which side of those bollards do you go, do you think? The little yellow ripple bollards that you see in the middle of the road there, do you go left, do you go right, or do you just go over it? I imagine the competition cars are just straight line.
I think you will see every angle possible used today, Dan, and as you said, some will just drive straight over the top. I really can't add much to that. Who knows? It's a short stage. You're not going to win the rally on this stage, but I guarantee you that when the drivers get out of the cars for lunch, they'll go, what did you do on the Strat stage? They'll know their times themselves. Yes. and there'll be a few bragging rights, especially, a lot of these guys are racing with their mates. It's just not so much in the tour groups because they're not timed, it's not competitive, but when you get to the competition classes, Spirit Tour, Challenge and Competition, then there'll be some bragging rights. As we see the 356C of Tom Klaviniak going through the S's, he chose to go either side of the bollards, the rumble strips, and as we said earlier, one of the oldest cars in the field, 1600cc, giant killer in the day, and hard to get hold of now, Dan, and you're going to have a big checkbook if you want a 356C.
Yes, more expensive than pretty much all of the Porsches that we saw go through, but now we move on to the relatively new Hyundai Tour, thanks to Peter Page and Paul Page at Peter Page Hyundai. This class is possible. It's got all N products from the i20N, the i30N, and everything in between, the Kona N, and even a couple of i30 sedans as well. And we're seeing them blast up the stage at the moment. Great little cars, these Hyundais. I've said it before, but it's so cool. 10 or 15 years ago you just said, oh, cheap and cheerful Hyundai, but not anymore. These are proper sports cars.
They are, and they have kind of a cult following. As we see, we can see the little white Civic hatch just moving up to the start line, and we'll probably catch it shortly on monitor. But VTEC, Honda variable valve technology.
Still seeing the end of the Hyundai Tour. He had a well-known surname in that tour alongside Matthew Totani in the Hyundai i20, and we had Priya Richards, granddaughter of Jim Richards. She does a lot for the motorsport media these days, but great to have her a part of the event as well. As you see an old school Civic go up the hill.
And you can hear the induction noise from that VTEC technology, variable camshaft valve timing, and they have a rorty noise. The Honda drivers love it. Just have a listen to this.
That sounds good, doesn't it?
And yeah, so Honda Civic Type R, the much later iteration. Gee, it has been a long day.
It's only the start of the day, Nick.
The much later iteration. Also, again, a cult following, much revered by motoring riders around Australia as one of the great modern cars. And I was at my local coffee shop a few weeks ago, and there were 7 of them lined up out for a Sunday run. So yeah, good following, the Honda Civic Type R. Have a listen to the sound of some of those Hondas, and we're just about to get some of the heavier hitters now, as we have an R32 Skyline just about to start the stage as a tour leader.
While you were talking then, Nick, I just heard from a gentleman who said he was heard what you said earlier, and he's said that he was in the film Picnic at Hanging Rock back in the day in 1974 when it was filmed here. That's pretty cool. Clearly a Strathalbyn resident for decades, and that's one of the great things about this town. You spoke to somebody last year, and they said, this is such a great town because it's still a stone's throw away from the city.
It is, and look, there's plenty of new homes being built in Strath, but there's also a lot of heritage-style villas and bungalows around the place as well. So no matter what you taste, it's probably not a bad place to choose if you want to move away from city life. But look, if we can catch up with that gentleman when we've been through our competition cars, we'd probably like to have a chat with him and see what it was like being a part of a movie in Strathalbyn.
Absolutely. We're now moving on to the main tour. So these guys still limited to 100Ks now, but there is anything and everything, as you're already seeing, from Subaru Prezas. There's a little Lotus here, and behind it a good old-fashioned Holden Ute as well. So this really does have everything, the main tour. It's for people like you and me, Nick, that just want to drive the stages at 100Ks an hour, have a good fun. We're not here to race against the clock. We're just here to drive our performance car around the hills of Adelaide.
And that is one of the strengths of the Adelaide Rally, is that no matter whether you're a competitive person through and through and I just got to win everything, you know, I can't come second, or if you just love your car and you're lucky enough to have one of these beautiful cars, why wouldn't you, instead of just going for a Sunday drive, why wouldn't you come out with us for 3 days on fully closed roads in controlled conditions, safer for you, safer for all the other people around you, and just enjoy your car? And it doesn't have to be an exotic supercar, Dan. It could be a hot hatch, could be, and we were talking yesterday, we reckon we could build a car to do the event for $10,000, and in that you could incorporate some good tyres, good brake pads, and maybe even some good shocks. So you're not going to win, but you're going to have a great time, and you'll probably have a pretty trouble-free great time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see the next batch of cars in front of us lining up on the grid, and it looks to me, Nick, like that is a Toyota GR Corolla. Not too many of those in the state. That's Ben Scott behind the wheel. He was meant to enter something a bit more old school, but a late change of heart sees him in that Corolla. But the GR Yaris, the GR Corolla, boy oh boy, have they taken off in recent years. Of course, great success in the World Rally Championship with Kalle Rovanperä, Oyt Tanak and Sebastian Ogier as well. They really have been the machine to beat in recent times.
They are. They're a really exciting car because it's so different. They were such an innovation. And Ben Scott, good punter, but also one of the front-running co-drivers over many years of Classic Adelaide and the Adelaide Rally. Even in a V8 Commodore, but a fearless animal co-driver is Ben Scott.
Absolutely. We can see the officials just getting ready to release Ben down the stage. But yeah, the Corolla, the GR Corolla, last year I'd never seen one until this rally, and that's one of the great things about this event as well. You can see the current 2024 spec models of various different cars, and you can think, man, I wouldn't mind having one of those myself. It's a showcase on wheels, it really is. As we see the safety delegate just heading up the stage just to make sure everything is all right on the stage itself. We're just doing a quick run through once again, so maybe there's some debris on the stage, not quite sure, but the main tour will continue in a few moments time. But going back to my earlier point about the Corolla, GR Corolla, I'd never seen it until the event this time last year, and there's already a couple more this year, and I'm sure that will continue as the as the years go by. There'll be more and more of them. Looks like they're just doing something towards the final chicane. Look at that, we've seen all walks of life on the Adelaide Rally stage. You've seen alpacas, even yesterday on the Wairoa stage we saw a koala as well, but a couple of dogs here in Strathalbyn to enjoy the sights and sounds. They're just checking around this area of the course at the moment. The temporary chicanes, it looks like one has been slightly moved, so I think they're just dealing with that at the moment. But Nick is going to head back out over to the Dixon, Driving with Dixon show and shine. So I bid him a temporary farewell for now, because he is going to find out who the winner is of the show and shine event, judged by Charlie Dixon. by Craig Lowndes. Yes, 7-time Bathurst 1000 winner Craig Lowndes is amongst us here in the town of Strathalbyn today, and his wife Laura Lowndes as well. They've been driving a 2024 Chevrolet Corvette, and I can see it on the strip just in front of me with 888 emblazoned down the side. What other number would Craig Lowndes have on the side of his rally car? So yes, of course, very, very famous. Won many Bathursts with the number 888. Won 6 of his 7 1000s with that number on the side of the car. Great to have him a part of the event in 2024, the Shannon's Adelaide Rally. He was here a few months ago for the Adelaide Motorsport Festival as well. He's a great lover of this city. Won the inaugural Adelaide 500 way back in 1999. One of the very famous drives in Supercars Championship history. Came from the back after DNFing on Saturday. This is back when the race was two 250 kilometre races. I'll get it out in a second. 250 kilometre races, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, but the grid positions of race 2 were set by the finishing order race 1, so he came all the way from the very back, and this was when the field had 40 cars, and he marched all the way from the back to the very front on Sunday to take a legendary victory in the inaugural Adelaide 500. Of course, the home to Formula 1 back in the day from 1985 through till 1995, and it was great earlier in the year at the Adelaide Motorsport Festival to have the 1995 Australian Grand Prix winner Damon Hill join us. He was interviewed by Charlie Barlow in the Grand Marquis, and he was reliving, hadn't been in Adelaide since 1995, and for him it was great to be back, relive all of those memories, including the famous collision he had with Michael Schumacher in the 1994 decider. I'm sure many people here on this stage were there that day. The famous incident between Damon Hill and Michael Schumacher. Of course, Gunther Steiner has already been announced. He will be returning to the Adelaide Motorsport Festival early next year, the week before the Australian Grand Prix at Albert Park. Tickets, I believe, have already sold out for the Australian Grand Prix, so if you want to see the stars and see some Formula 1 cars, the Adelaide Motorsport Festival is the place to be next year, held on the streets of Adelaide where the Grand Prix was and where the Adelaide 500 is. A fantastic event. Gunther Steiner will be there, so will David Brabham, former Formula 1 driver and Le Mans 24-hour winner. He'll be driving one of the Formula 1 cars that he drove back in the day next year. They've also announced a couple of Le Mans cars. The 767B will be back, the rotary powered Mazda that was a front runner at Le Mans, the first iteration of what became the 787 that won the 1991 Le Mans 24-hour. And as well as that, they've announced the Nissan, the Calsonic sponsored Nissan Le Mans car as well. And there'll be a lot of Can-Am cars next year. 3 Can-Am cars are going to make the trip all the way over from England to take part in the event. Those are 3 great additions. Nothing like some Can-Am cars. And of course as well, they've announced a Formula 5000 as well. But for all the latest on the Adelaide Motorsport Festival, go to the website and the social media channels. This is what they have done, look. So they are stopping drivers from shortcutting that chicane at the end of the stage. Me and Nick were just talking about that. So people were using the right hand side of the road and going over the bollards in the middle, and it does say, as I recall now, that you have to keep to the left of those bollards. These Tour drivers have not been doing that. Some of them, they've been shortcutting, abusing track limits, you'd almost say, using all the road. You've got to go on the left-hand side of those bollards at the end of the stage. So that is the reason for the delay. So those bollards are there to stop them from running over the ripple strip down the middle of the road at the end of the Strathalbyn town stage, which, as you can see, starts here on Catherine Street. And already you can see the amount of fans here. This is the particular area of note for me, just how busy it is. Just over the other side of the Angus River. Look at them, line 4, 5, yeah, absolutely. Give us a wave. You are on the Shannon's Adelaide Rally live stream. Thanks ever so much for joining us here today on this lovely sunny morning. It is just about morning. No, it's just turned 12 o'clock local time. We are into the afternoon and a full day's action here in Strathalbyn with not one but two runs through this super special stage through the streets of Strathalbyn. I'm Dan McCarthy, and Nick Lenthal has departed the commentary box. He's headed down to the show and shine, and he's going to bring us the winner of the competition. I don't know who's going to win it. The Cortina particularly took my eye, of course, with Bathurst pedigree. Cortina's winning and dominating the Bathurst 500 mile race as it was back then in the mid to late 60s. So it's great to see a Cortina around. While we wait for the team to finish putting those bollards in place, we're currently looking at the main tour. But what is the main tour? How do you get involved? Well, here's a little bit of information about the Shannon's Adelaide Rally main tour.
Main tour sees entrants drive through all 30 stages across the 3 days of the Adelaide Rally. The maximum speed for main tour drivers is 100 kilometers an hour. The main tour incorporates both manufacturer tours and regular tour groups. While the main tour is open to all vehicles, within that tour we have manufacturer tours: Zagami, Mercedes-AMG, Solitaire, Porsche Centre Adelaide, Porsche, BMW Mini, Honda and Hyundai.
So yeah, plenty of cars in the main tour, but currently we're looking at the non-manufacturer cars. About to head up there, the Ford Falcon there in the middle, that looks immaculately presented. Me and Nick on the way up here, we saw several supercars, and I've seen a couple that are here now. Not actually competing in the rally, but there is an Audi R8 that we saw on the way here. That appears to be here. So the supercars and car fans have come from Adelaide up the freeway to be here today, and that's why it's been a great addition to the event this year. There's a real crowd gathering at the start line because we're not too far away now. There we are, 5 seconds from the start and the resumption of play, and off goes Ben Scott in his GR Corolla. Nicely through there. Huge variety of machines. You've got Alfa Romeos, Subarus, Porsches, Lamborghinis, Holden Utes and everything in between in the main tour. We are looking at Ben Scott, usually in the co-driver's seat, but he's leading the tour, one of the main tour packets. We should say that each of these tours, they're split up into groups of 15 if they're large enough. This one certainly is, with over 60 entrants in the main tour this year. They're split into 4 or 5 packets, we call them. So Ben Scott is tour leader 11, so he's leading the 11th packet within the main tour. So we've already seen a fair few cars come through. After this main tour, we're going to turn things up. The Spirit Tour is next. They're limited to 120 k's an hour, and with the increased speed limit, they wear helmets and a couple of other safety things. They are also tracked by, their speed is constantly being tracked in Rally HQ to make sure they are abiding by the rules. Spirit Tour's a bit of a teaser really for those that want to compete in a competition class in years to come. As you see another Corolla head up the hill through the Church Chicane and through Bollard Bend. This is a different looking machine to some that you may have seen. This is the Nissan Z, driven by Matthew Hassan, Nicholas Hassan alongside him. Very, very new 2024 model. This is the best that Nissan have to offer at the moment in their branch, or some of the best vehicles. They've got so many, haven't they, from their GTR and everything in between. This is going to be a spectacle. The Skyline going up the hill, boat as the registration number. We're just awaiting a wave off of the officials. You can see how deep the crowd is. I can't even see the cars almost. There's that many people in my way. But I can just see a couple of roofs, that's about all, as we get underway once again. And flicks it into the corner, does Ross Smith in his Nissan Skyline, built back in 1992. Gavin Porthouse alongside of him through the temporary chicane and the blast towards the Shannon's kink. That looks a lot faster than it did last year. It's a bit more of a kink to it. It's a real fast right-hander, and then through Bollard Bend. We saw yesterday a couple of the temporary bollards that have been added got knocked from pillar to post on the way rower stage. How long will they last here on the streets of Strathalbyn? Well, they've lasted longer than the ones yesterday did. They were really pushing the limits yesterday. As we look at the Ford Mustang going through the stage, only just over 500 metres in length this stage, as it goes through Church Chicane and then Bollard Bend to finish things off. Subaru WRX in the Subaru blue that Colin McRae made so famous. You forget that there were other legendary rally drivers that raced for Subaru around that time as well, including none other than Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz Sr., of course. Many people don't know that current Ferrari driver, soon to be Williams Formula One driver, Carlos Sainz Jr., as he is actually called, is the son of a two-time World Rally champion, Carlos Sainz. And he was teammates to the legendary, the late Colin McRae, who made the Subarus what they are really. He launched that brand into stardom, and still rally drivers love their Subaru Prezas, and also of course their rivals, the Mitsubishi Evos as well. So yeah, there certainly is a lot to see in terms of the quality there of Subarus. And here we are, just on cue, a Mitsubishi Evo. Of course, Tommy Mackinnon, probably the most famous of all of the Mitsubishi factory rally drivers from back in this era. But there were certainly a few of them, and there's some real classic cars I can see just lining up on the grid that'll really get a certain generation warm in the heart, that is for sure. They are to come. You might be able to just see the red E-Type pulling up on the grid behind this Porsche Boxster. Into the turn it goes. Couple of 90-degree left-handers to start the stage. We'll see the competition cars use all of the road later on today. As I say, that chicane out of that street is not as tight as it was last year, so they'll carry more speed through here over the Church Chicane and into Bollard Bend with the ABS working there. Here, a little Mini Cooper for us to look at and enjoy. This would really suit this stage, the Mini Cooper, as he turns around off Catherine Street. This is Mitchell Wiley behind the wheel of his Morris Mini, built back in 1970, 54 years old. But doesn't it, it's really moved with the times. Well, it looks absolutely fantastic. Anybody, whether you're a car enthusiast or not, can spot a 70s Mini. It's one of the key things about the brand. Here another one that is instantly recognizable. It's an MGB GT heading onto the stage. Doesn't necessarily make the best noise, but it's an iconic car. 288 as well. Man, we're being spoilt here. Late on in the main tour, some iconic classic cars, and Shannon's will have you covered with all of these cars in terms of insurance. They understand our passion for motoring. An AC Cobra, and it's going to be followed by an Alpine 110 as well. How spoilt are we here this afternoon as the AC Cobra turns into the bend, turning off Catherine Street. Flick it through the temporary chicane. Nick, and I believe you're down there. The presentation is just about to start in the show and shine.
Dan, it is. I'm down here with Charlie Dixon at the Driving with Dixon show and shine, and as I mentioned to you earlier, there must be 80 rigs down here. We've got everything. We've got Audis, we've got Mitsubishi Evos, we've got one-tonners, F-trucks, we've got everything. There's even a vintage car that drove from England to Australia. The judges for the day, very difficult task, I might add it. I'm glad it's not me. We've got Charlie Dixon on my right and Lara Lowndes on the left, and Lara is charging the women entrance in this competition. So I'm going to get out of their way and hand over to Charlie for the presentation of the winners of the Driving with Dixon show and shine. Charlie?
Yep, sorry, I just had to get one of these. Hello? Yep, there we go.
See, I put him on the spot.
I should have
Didn't mean to do that.
My events,
So here we go, guys.
All over the place.
Here's your winners for today.
All right, first of all, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's brought their cars out and just come out to view the Driving with Dixon and Adelaide Rally show and shine. Hopefully we can do a few more in the future, and huge thanks to Lara and Craig Lowndes for helping us out with the judging. So we're going to kick it off with Lara and
very close. So huge applause, ladies. Well played. Was legitimately tough to pick. So today's winner, though, purely on the basis, fully original. She takes pride in the fact that there's no aftermarket. Her Weber's particularly sourced from the UK. Is the 1980 Ford Escort RS2000, which is Linda Shelton.
Yay! Wow.
Come forward, bravo. There you go. Well done.
Oh, thank you so
Love
much.
you, girl.
Thank you.
Well done.
Good to meet you guys. Thank you.
All right, I'll go next. Now, everyone knows I love my trucks, so I'm going to have to go with Harry in the F100 because that thing is beautiful, and I sold one like that, and I wish I hadn't. So, well done, mate. That's it. That's my bonnet. I forgot about that.
Thank you so much. That's excellent. Appreciate it.
Good job, mate.
Well done, and thank you for doing what you do.
Thanks,
mate.
Cheers.
Actually, it's really hard, as both of them have said. It's really some beautiful machinery here, but Charlie and I sort of agreed that I'll do more the standard side of it because I'm more of that favour, and I love people keeping their cars original. I do have one of these, not exactly the GT version at home, but I do have a Mark 1. So Jamie with the GT, applaud you. Sorry, the Cortina. Come forward, and nicely done.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you very much for coming out, guys. Hopefully we can do a few more of these in the future, and we get to enjoy some racing now through the street, and that's what you guys are going to do now. Yep. So let's go watch them. Cheers, guys. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Actually, we'll just get the winners back here. We'll get a quick photo with the winners and trophies.
How's that, Dan? A Ford clean sweep from a truck to a GT500 Cortina and an RS2000. Told you everybody liked them. So we'll be coming back later to interview Charlie Dixon about Chuck's Garage.
Thank you very much, Nick. Oh, great to see the amount of people down there. There really is a great atmosphere down there in that area. But back on the course, we are moving on to the Spirit Tour now, where these guys will be certainly driving a bit more spirited around the streets of Strathalbyn. These guys can push that a little bit harder. 100 was the limit for the other tours, 120 for these guys, but they won't be reaching those speeds on this stage, but they'll be accelerating out of the corners as quickly as possible. We're really turning things up not too far away from the competition categories now. They will be after the Spirit Tour entrance, with Alex Rouleau leading the way at the moment out there on the Adelaide Rally stages, the Shannon's Adelaide Rally stages. And yeah, at the moment, Rouleau leading the way by 1 minute and 13 seconds. Peter Rouleau has extended the margin in position number 2 ahead of Oscar Matthews. That is out to 17 seconds now, but there's still plenty to play out as the day goes on. The fight for second still well and truly on. with the Macclesfield, a couple of runs through the Macclesfield stage at over 7 kilometres in length, and as well a couple more stages to end the day at Leawood Gardens. Sorry, that was yesterday's. They end with Warrawong and Sturt Valley as well. So plenty of stages still to come. This is stage number 25 of 30 for the weekend, and it's been an absolute classic edition of the event. Last year was a real classic, a real titanic battle between 3 competitors, and in the end, after 128 competitive kilometres last year, there was a tie at the top. It was quite remarkable. Oscar Matthews, and as well, our man who's back in position number 3, taking the victory last year, but he was challenged throughout, and in the end, after all that, he and Matthew Selly were tied at the end of over 120 kilometres of competitive action. It's going to be hard if they want to tie with Alex Rullo. They've got to get their finger out. They don't have much time to do it. He's over a minute clear, but those cars are still to come. Stay tuned on the Shannon's Adelaide Rally live stream, and here listening on the PA around the streets of Strathalbyn as well. But, we can see the first of the Spirit Tour cars heading up the hill. It's a little Polo heading up there. So there's no tour leaders or anything. Well, this one is the only one. They're not in groups, packets of 15. So up the hill goes Tim Knapstein in his BMW M2. Built back that one in particular in 2016, but it still looks, and I feel as if that was just yesterday, but already 8 years have elapsed since that particular model came out. There's lots of different machinery. There's even some ex-Targa Tasmania cars in this particular class, but we're currently looking at an old school Ferrari on the grid and set to go. I think that's the Mark Hoffman 355, I believe. I believe it is. I'll let you listen to this as he roars away from the line. It was indeed Mark Hoffman in his 355 Challenge car. Through he goes, flicks it left, flicks it right, flicks it left, and into the Shannon's kink. You may be wondering, they're separated a bit more, these guys. Yep, that is deliberate. So they're not being sent in 4-second intervals for this stage. This class, sorry, these guys get sent in 30-second intervals. So they get the whole stage to themselves here in Strathalbyn. So just as he crosses the line to finish the stage, Hoffman crosses the line and the next car is set to go. Nick, I believe you're down there. You found somebody.
Down here, but instead of talking about, you know, how many times have you won Bathurst and all that kind of stuff, we're going to talk about old cars because it's what we all really love, me included. I've just been talking to Lara, and she has a car of her own as a Sunday car in the garage at home. Lara, tell us about how you came to have this car.
Yeah, I do. So it's a bit of a unique one. It was my grandmother's since new, to the point it still had, when we sort of pulled her all apart, had the original plastic under the seat cover on the back seat. Oh, wow. So it's a 1985 KB Ford Laser.
And
so
it's a Minter?
It's a Minter. So 166,000 Ks on the clock. She's just had a new carby, so she's like brand new.
Just a baby.
Yeah, she is. She's it's got the crocheted rug on the back parcel shelf, the orange louver. So yeah, she's a Minter. I love her. Yes.
That's fantastic. It's amazing how people come by these old cars. There's always a backstory.
Oh, 100%.
As to how it... did you ride in it as a...
I did.
You know, when you were younger?
So, which is why it's so dear to my heart. So for me, if I think of summer growing up, it was at the beach with my grandma in that Laser. It still had beach sand in it when it came over from Perth.
It's got a feel-good vibe 100%. When you get in it.
Yeah. Pull the air all up on a Sunday, crank up the tunes, everything still works.
Beautiful.
Go for a cruise. So it was actually lovely hearing some of the stories, multi-generational cars. up and down today when we were judging.
Make a mixtape for the cassette and pop that in.
Too old, mate. No cassette player. No cassette player.
Craig, I understand you've got a Mark 1 Cortina, a lot like the one that just won today.
Yeah, I actually had an original GT. I had 3 of them at once. The GT had been crashed, unfortunately, and then I had 2 other 440s, which I end up using the best body out of that and made 3 into 1. So I always wanted, growing up, an RS2000. That was my dream car growing up. Yep. My dad was part of the Harry Firth era building the 500s for Bathurst. Right. So he got the body shape that he wanted, and I've transplanted since then a 2-litre Pinto engine in it. So I've got the Escort engine driveline, and he's got the body. So no, we've both got some really nice cars.
Well, I'm an Escort guy myself, but there's always a backstory and there's always a connection. Guys, thanks so much for coming back again to the Adelaide Rally. We know you love it. We know you don't have to be asked. You want to come anyway. But it's a pleasure having you here. And I can tell you, folks, these guys have made themselves so available today. They haven't stopped signing autographs and having pictures taken. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having us. Yeah. We're actually stoked now to get back in the car, and I was just saying, pass me the road book and throw you the car keys. Let's have a crack at the town stage.
Giddy up.
Yeah,
back to you, Dan.
Thank you very much, Nick. Yeah, they're going to have a run through the town stage later on. I can see their Chevrolet Corvette from here, 2024 model. As we're turning up the wick on the stage at the moment, the competition car's not too far away now. Spirit Tour going through the stage, and we've got a Lancer taking off. It's Wazinski taking off from the line in the 405 numbered machine. Really nice livery, really nice. Looks like a proper race car, doesn't it, with the white and blue paint scheme. I'm sure it's not even painted, it's stickered up like all modern race cars are. He's pushing the limits through the church chicane and around Bollard Bend and across the line. You can see the end of the stage. It's where those signs are, where the white with the red circle, that indicates the end of the stage. And we move on to a Subaru Impreza now. But it's interesting that Ford's dominated in the show and shine. I'm sure many Ford fans here will be rooting on the Fords next weekend. But unfortunately for them, it's going to be a Chevrolet Camaro victory in the Supercars Championship one way or another. Will it be Will Brown? Will it be Brock Feeney? Either way, we're going to have a maiden Supercars champion crowned on the streets of Adelaide next weekend. And we see the Honda Integra of Carl Newhill going up now. He's been pushing all weekend long. He's one of the fastest drivers in Spirit Tour. You can see that's the most committed through the Shannon's Kink that we have seen, through the church chicane and into Bollard Bend, absolutely flinging the car left, right, so natural, so flowing, and that's what you want to see. The 432 going by now of Daniel Kaliz, using his new launch control system off the line, and he also pushes the limits. A well-known photographer in the Australian motorsport media landscape, but he's taken a weekend off to drive his little Yaris up the hill, and fast as well. Boy oh boy, can he drive. Up next, a Ford Focus roaring down towards the first turn off Catherine Street. Using a little bit more of the road around the 90-degree left-hander there. This is Richard Stafford. Richard's been enjoying himself. ABS lights there flashing away as he goes through the church chicane. This is a older spec Cayman GTS built back in 2021, and it's got Gavin James with John Lowry alongside of him in a car colour described as a carmine red. Really great to see that car out here. Looks really nicely presented with all of the stickers on. Of course, we have to thank Colour On Demand for printing all of the stickers that you see on all of these race cars. Colour Undermined, a little Adelaide business in the Adelaide CBD. They printed all of these stickers for all of the competitors to put on their cars, from their race number to the Shannon sponsor on the windscreen and everything in between. So we have to thank Colour Undermined. They do a magnificent job year after year, and we can see how nice they look on all of these cars. It really does make them look like proper race cars, as we see a current spec 2024 Porsche 911 GT3 heading up the stage in a colour they describe as green. It's a sort of bluey green minty colour, and it's Guy Dorner that is behind the wheel. Look at how fast that is. Hard on the brakes as he turns right for the church chicane. That acceleration is something else. The flat six motor, and we've got a bit of flat six action at the moment. There's a few Porsches lining up on the start grid. This now the 408 driven Porsche of Brendan Green. Another GT3 from a couple of years ago, this one back in 2022. Through the Shannon's kink and towards the church chicane over the bridge there, and then the church chicane, the right hander, the left, and then around Bollard Bend before the left-hander to finish off the 500 metre stage. Another Porsche. It's a Porsche fanfare at the moment, but there's plenty of other machines lined up on the start grid. Brilliant town of Strathalbyn, southeast of Adelaide. It's the furthest that we travel in terms of kilometres away from the Adelaide CBD, but it really is only a 30-kilometre drive down the freeway to the centre of Adelaide. It's not too far at all. It's a really lovely town, and the surrounding areas are certainly growing in popularity. Back here a few decades ago, this was considered very much the country, but slowly this country town is gaining in popularity, which is really nice to see, as we see Dan Standish in his Porsche head on through the stage. 500 metres in length, as I say, the shortest stage on the rally. You can't win the Adelaide Rally on this stage, but you can certainly lose it, that is for sure. I see Subaru and older Preza heading up there now. There's a few Subarus now lining up on the grid. They seem to be sort of together, the groups of cars. We've had a few Porsches, we've had a few Subarus now. I can see a Lotus lining up on the grid as well, so plenty to soak in. All different engine noises, all different notes. I'll let you listen to this one. This is Samuel David at the wheel, Josh Kent alongside him, 2018 spec Subaru WRX STI Spec R, so very much the top of the range Subaru WRX, fitted out in the iconic 555 livery. Oh, he nearly went the wrong side there of the line. Nick is back alongside me. He's finished chatting to the Lownses. I'm sure it was hard to drag you away. I'm sure Dylan, the cameraman, was going, no, come on, you got to come back to the commentary box. You could sit there or stand there chatting to the Lownses about classic cars for weeks.
Fords,
yes.
A Ford Mark 1 Cortina GT Craig has in the shed, and a KB Laser for Lara, and nicer people you won't meet. We're so grateful to them for making themselves available to all the fans at the Adelaide Rally, and also being a part of the tour groups and the tour leader. So Dan, that was a great time. I'm just keeping my steps up by walking back and forth across the Angus River. So I won't need to go to the gym this week. But then I never go to the gym anyway, so I think we're just getting right up close to the challenge group, aren't we? We're pretty close now?
Correct, absolutely. About halfway through the Spirit Tour, so you just take your seats in the commentary box, and then we're about to let you loose once again to go and chat to a few of the competition guys. So we'll come on to who's doing what in the competition category in a few moments' time, but the latest updates are that Alex Rullo's extended his lead this morning, so he's doing a very nice job. He's the West Australian former Supercars driver, the youngest ever Supercars driver, racing for Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport, and also making a few appearances as well for Kelly Racing in the endurance season as well. That was a committed run through there. You can see the rotation of the car. Nick, this car's drawn our attention all weekend long with the light and the roof rack attached of Jared McGaffin. But through here, through the temporary chicane, you'll notice a difference since you were last here, Nick. They go through the Shannon's Kink, around Church Chicane, and then around Bollard Bend, Nick, because we saw a few cars cutting that chicane earlier. You can no longer do that.
No, don't tell me, Dan. I can't imagine that a rally driver would take out a bollard. Bit of over-enthusiasm, you reckon?
Yes, absolutely. So there was a little delay there for a couple of minutes, but the team, the great volunteer officials, do a fantastic job, and they quickly put the bollards in place, and we have resumed play. 375 volunteer officials.
And that's only just enough. Yesterday, those bollards on the Wairoa stage were a prime target. There were a few guys who just lined them up, and I reckon I can straight line this. Well, I almost could. But we're watching now the Falcon just moving through the stage.
Yeah, Colin Zipveld, a front runner in the TSD category normally, but this year not competing against the clock. Step back to Spirit Tour, having good fun. The Larry tyre smoke coming off the rear wheels of the Ford Falcon as he let rip up the hill towards the first of the 90-degree left-handers, but great to see him really pushing the limits despite not being timed in this particular tour this year. Great to have him, but we now turn our attention to an old Porsche.
An early 911, probably a 2.7 litre, probably middle 80s, I would suggest. But you're going to
Hamish Eaton,
straight.
Hamish Eaton, 1970 Porsche 911 Turbo.
Wow, with a turbo. I'm surprised, because that car certainly didn't come out of the factory with a turbo. So great to see some Porsches down here this weekend. We've had them from all eras, right from day one up to the latest and greatest releases from Porsche, as we have from all the other manufacturers in their various groups, and the dealers for those brands supporting the event by putting together their dealer groups like Zagami, BMW, Solitaire, and Hyundai, all with their own fan base, client base, that they are able to get together so that they can chat about their cars and how much they love them, and you know, they can talk to the dealer about, hey, that new one that's just come out, you know, I wouldn't mind one of them. Well, come and talk to us on Monday. And that's how modern marketing takes place. So enjoying the stage at Strathalbyn. We had a gentleman come forward earlier who said that he was part of the filming of Picnic at Hanging Rock in this very street, the main street of Strathalbyn, and if he's still around later on, we'll catch up with him and have a chat about what that was like. We actually just got Dan Beck moving up to the start line now. You can't see him on the monitor just yet, but Dan is in an RX2 Coupe. Now that's a real rare car these days. There were lots of them around in the 70s, but a lot got crashed and, you know, thrown away. Rotaries had such unfortunate resale value at the time that they were pretty much worthless. But then they got this kind of cult following, me being one of them, when I rallied an RX3 sedan on gravel during the 80s.
You're telling me it wasn't an Escort? You've driven other cars?
It was cheaper to get horsepower out of the Rotary at the time, and boy did they make some horsepower. We used to use 8,000 revs all day in the RX3, and so did everybody else. It was that car was doing 100 miles an hour, 160k when we changed into fourth gear during rallies. So that was just because we had a tall diff and you know, pretty standard gearing. It was all we could afford. But the Mercedes just going through the stage now, but we've got Dan Beck moving up, a couple of Mark 1 Escorts behind him just to make up the old school class, and they should provide a bit of a show for the people who are standing around the start line.
Oh, look at that smoke. Dan Beck putting on a show. He's weaving from side to side. Beck's Bakehouse, the sponsor, on the side of the car. But he's pushing, isn't he? Absolutely. He might be in the Spirit Tour, but through the chicane and heading towards the Shannon's Kink, this car is absolutely flying. So lightweight, it might not have as much power as some of these Mercedes and whatnot that we've seen, but power to weight ratio probably isn't too far off.
It's probably 760 kilos, I'd suggest, Dan. So, and with probably close to 200 horsepower, it's not going to be a problem for it to get on with it.
Nick's getting a little bit excited. There's a yellow Escort on the stage now. Nick, tell us a bit about this one.
Well, this is a bit of a hybrid. It's a Mark 1 Escort with a round headlight grille like an RS2000 would have had, but in its heart is an SR20 turbo Nissan engine. Was a very, very widely used conversion for old Escorts because it's a good fit and lots of horsepower, whereas this one, the black one, is a YB Cosworth naturally aspirated 16 valve. And if we do get a chance to hear this car, if the driver will give it a rev for us, then it sounds sweet. Bit of induction noise from the carbs there.
Absolutely awesome, doesn't it? Through the church chicane and around Bollard Bend. Always left it a little bit late there to go around the bollards. And we go from an old classic to a modern classic with the Toyota GR Yaris. Aren't they popular? So fast, accelerating from 0 to 100 kilometres an hour. Paul Caffin at the wheel of this particular Yaris 2021 model through Church Chicane. He's really straight lined that, and that meant that he had to dab the brakes again through the left-hander. This is one of my favourites, the BMW 635. It's even black and has a few gold little paint bits, a real nod to the JPS livery, the one that Jim Richards drove in the Australian Touring Car Championship in the mid-80s in the Group A era. People still say the best era of touring car racing in this country, and great to see that car here, a real classic. And a real classic is a Mustang, but this of course the more modern iteration, and they really have become quite a successful model. They are so very popular, an affordable, fast muscle car. It really is not challenged at the moment as he goes through the kink and towards Church Chicane, a large dab of the brakes and flicks it left as he goes around Bollard Bend. But Nick, we now turn our attention to the Suzuki Swift, but you yourself have owned a relatively new Mustang. They really are at the moment in a great class of their own.
They are. It's a really interesting attack by Ford, because if you look around a Mustang, it doesn't actually say Ford anywhere on the car. Mustang's become a brand in its own right. And the off-the-shelf with 306 kilowatts, or the slightly later one with 335 kilowatts, so they're a pretty capable sort of a unit to have a run in for your daily driving.
Just looking at an old Mercedes heading up the hill. We're letting you listen to the last now of the Spirit Tour. It's the Volvo S60, which is all weekend long being driven very, very hard and very, very aggressively by Gordon Christie. 2014 Volvo S60, of course, Scott McLaughlin making that famous on the streets of Adelaide a decade ago, when he beat Jamie Whincup in the fight for second on that evening. Of course, that race is won by none other than Craig Lowndes, who is amongst us here on the streets today. But the competition cars are just pulling up onto the grid. We are set for the competition class. I'll quickly give you a little bit of a recap. What is competition all about?
The outright category. Open to modern or classic cars with current road registration, plus some other general requirements. Cars must be fitted with a roll cage, with double door bars, science bar and other members as stated in the regulations. Participants will leave at 30-second intervals on closed road stages, limited to 200 kilometers an hour. The fastest driver across the 30 stages wins the outright category.
There are trophies on the line with competition lined up on the grid. Alex Rouleau set to head out first, and he's extended his lead this morning by a further few seconds. He now leads the way by 1 minute and 13 seconds in his Hyundai i20N, and he leads his father as we're hearing him on the line.
Watch this, folks. This is the best show on earth, and watch this car soak up the bumps in the stage. Very quick, very well sorted in the suspension, but not too stiff. We've got the tour leader still to go through, Rob Hunt, and Rob Hunt, man, he's been rallying forever. He is so experienced. You've got a few mates, Jeremy Brown, Tom Barr-Smith, who all have been rallying for such a long time, since the 60s in Adelaide, and they've driven all kinds of things in all kinds of places. They've done marathon events overseas, they've done London to Sydney type events, and Rob still doing the South Australian Rally Championship on gravel in that very car that you can see there right now, and still putting in some pretty capable times, like he's no slouch.
Very good, but yeah, you could hear Rouleau warming up his Hyundai, couldn't you? How loud is that? A proper Rally 2-spec car that race all around the world, here as well in the Australian Rally Championship, but the second tier WRC2 category run Rally 2 cars. That's quite hard to say, run Rally 2 cars. That's a tongue twister for this afternoon.
And if you watch, if you're lucky enough to see Alex just pop this car into gear before he starts the stage, there's a massive clunk. You'd think that he'd just broken the gearbox, but it's not. It's a dog and a dog box, and it's very noisy. You'll see it go into launch control mode. He'll have his hand on the handbrake. He'll take the car up to maximum revs and then just release the handbrake, and it will launch with hardly any wheel spin, even though it's probably running around 300 kilowatts. It will launch like you wouldn't believe, and that together with their reasonably lightweight and their impeccable manners. You could see yesterday how Alex was just loving the car. Rob Hunt moving off now, so we're only a couple of minutes away from watching these stars in these star cars. State-of-the-art Rally 2, like you'd see anywhere in Europe for the German European Rally Championship. This is the benchmark car over there.
Absolutely. So Alex Rouleau currently leading the way ahead of his father, who's in an identical Hyundai i20N. Former winner, in fact last year's winner, Oscar Matthews, sits in position number 3 and is trying to challenge Peter Rouleau today. In 4th position, a lonely 4th, but leading the heritage category is Tom Dermody at the wheel of his Ford Escort. He's around half a minute ahead of Lovell, but here we are. We're about to go green. Alex Rouleau, watch this thing accelerate off the line faster than a Formula One car. Revs rise. And away we go. Look at that incredible launch. He turns into the 90-degree corner, immediately back on the power, and he's already at the second corner through the chicane. A bit of wheel spin out of the 90-degree corner through the Shannon's kink, fully committed on the brakes through the church chicane. Flicks it back through to the left, through around Bollard Bend, using all of the road there, and across the line as his father starts things off, Nick.
Jeez, I think it'd be tough in this household.
Yes.
I don't know which one's not allowed to come in the door at night after the bragging rights for this stage, but both driving extremely well. Alex has held down the lead. Father Peter has held down second place for the entire event. Oscar Matthews just right at his heels. They've had little dices where they were a couple of seconds up or down, but it's just been a fabulous dice.
That got a bit crossed up there.
Here's our local man, Oscar Matthews, about to launch the Evo 6. Probably as much, maybe even a little bit more power than the Hyundai i20 Rally, but certainly a couple of 100 kilos heavier, and he is pushing this car.
Yeah, a little bit crossed up around the first corner, trying to get the power down. The back end slid on him on the exit off the corner. He applies the brake, tips it in. That looks really fast through there. That looks even faster potentially than the Subaru's. Really nice end to the stage by Oscar Matthews. But here we turn back the time to Tom Dermody in the Escort. This thing sideways at the best of times. Can he keep the rear in tow? He was fastest through the previous Super Special stage, Saturday's Way Rower stage. He set a blinding time through there, the first person to beat Alex Rouleau all weekend long.
And look at that Escort in its natural habitat, lifting the front wheel in the air, Dan. That's what they were built to do. They were built for rallying these cars. They were made for it. At this time in their life, they were the winningest rally car in the world, winning the 1980 World Championship. And now we've got Richard Lovell, another local.
Yeah, he's only a few seconds behind the Escort. Yeah, big kick-off oversteer, big tank slapper out of the second of the 90-degree corners. He's only about 20 seconds behind Tom Dermody at this moment, so he has fourth position in his sights outright. Oh, it does look a little bit loose, doesn't it?
Cameron Waring with wife Tanya on the notes in the BMW M3. This is a V8 rear-wheel drive car. Cameron is director of the Australian Driving Institute, together with Tanya. They can show you how to compete in motorsport, how to get your driving skills up, and this is going to be a really smooth run, I'll predict, Dan.
Yeah, very
really
much so.
Neat.
Yeah, absolutely. This car probably not so well suited to this stage as some of the others. These tight, twisty corners, not suiting the nature of the BMW. As we hear Andre Lukash head off from the line. What a noise!
Sounded like a launch control setup, didn't it?
Certainly did.
SR20 Turbo in the S14 Nissan. Popular choice for a lot of drift guys because they're so tail happy. But if you can re-engineer the suspension to get it to sit properly, and that's what Andre explained yesterday when we spoke to him. He spent the last 3 years trying to get this car to do what he wants it to do in rallying, and it's looking pretty neat today.
Certainly is. He's sixth on the road at the moment. They're going in order of which they are in the rally. So we've started with the fastest. We're going down to the people at the tail end of the field. But this is a former winner of the rally. John Ireland has been putting in a consistent performance so far this weekend, and this looks like another solid run up this stage. We were talking about it earlier, Nick. There's a lot more to be lost on this stage than there is to be gained.
Absolutely. You can get a bit excited, the red mist sets in, and all of a sudden you do something completely stupid. As in the words of Gary Matthew Latvala, why am I so stupid, when he binned the car on the last stage of an event. But yeah, I mean, Jim Richards was the one who coined the phrase, you won't win it here, but you sure can lose it. And who would know better than Jim?
Yeah, gentleman Jim, 7-time Bathurst 1000 winner, the most capped person in the Bathurst 1000, 35 starts. A record that can only really, I reckon, be beaten by the man here, Craig Lowndes. But up next, Zach Hedge in his 1985 Porsche 911. Listen to this flat six roar.
Bernie Webb alongside in the co-driver chair, and Bernie, of course, having written the notes available to drivers for the event at Smooth Line Pace Notes. So Bernie had been right on his game, very exact, and delivering the note at just the right time so it doesn't get in the driver's way. So he's very clear about what to expect this corner, the next one, and the one after. And this is an Abarth Berliner Corsa. It started life as a Fiat Cinquecento, they were, and then Abarth got hold of them and hot rodded them basically with a Radiale cylinder head, took them up to 1000 cc's, and they absolutely demolished the Championship Series that they raced in Italy. What a quirky car. I'm really going to try hard to get to talk to Mike Lowe later in the day and see if he can run us through the mechanicals of this car, because it really is a wonderful little time capsule.
Yeah, we're going to let you loose later on to do just that. And that concludes already the competition category cars. That was a real blast, a real treat for the senses, both in terms of sight and in terms of sound as well. So we're going to send this car up, the official, before we get underway in the challenge category. Now, Nick, challenge is similar in pretty much every sense of the word to competition, except it's a level playing field because every car is limited to 130 kilometers an hour, and it means that you might not have the fastest car, but it really equals the playing field.
It's a leveler. It's part of the approach of Tim Possingham and his team to making the rally as safe as they possibly can for everyone. So in terms of choosing the stages, they try to leave out straights which are ridiculously fast. Let's stick to the technical bits of road that demand driving skill and demand concentration and good pace notes. And that applies whether you're doing 160 kilometres an hour or a maximum of 120. You still need to be right on your game. These guys just about to let go. And Tony Spry giving us a little wave there.
Yeah, actually, I think it might be a man at the front of the field. He is the challenge leader at the moment. It is the man combination, and they are set to go. They're leading the way by over a minute in the challenge class in their Subaru Impreza. It's a field that's been dominated by Imprezas so far this weekend as he turns it in to the first of the 90-degree left-handers off Catherine Street. Look at that, using all the road on the outside, flicks it through the chicane and into the Shannon's Kink. This is a fast run on this stage, Nick. Last year we saw a lot of the challenge cars nearly as fast, if not faster, than the competition cars, because they're not even touching 130 kilometres an hour through here.
And they're having just as much fun, if not more. So you can see sometimes the Subaru, the rear roll stiffness, just lifting a rear wheel in the air.
This is the Spry combination. They're in a good battle with the Ford Focus RS that we're about to see in the fight for second position in the challenge class. This is a 2003 Subaru Impreza. Of course, Subaru in 2003 won their very last WRC title in the hands of the great Norwegian driver Petter Solberg. But here in the Ken Block tribute liveried Ford Focus RS, it's Daniel Andrews, not the former Victorian Premier. No, this is the car enthusiast Daniel Andrews putting the pedal to the metal through the chicane. And these are sort of the sort of streets that we saw Ken Block in his Gymkhana videos make the Focus RS a very famous piece of machinery.
Daniel Andrews currently leading the South Australian Carnacross Championships in this car, which is kind of like trying to compress a rally into the size of 1 or 2 kilometres. So, and that's your favourite, Dan, the hot hatch, the Citroen, which is just so reliable. It's just every stage we see it just there on time, every time, having a great run.
Yeah, Dodson behind the wheel of that one, fifth currently, a lowly fifth position in the rally. A bit of an improve from last year, was just inside the top 10 throughout last year, but has moved up this year, which is really good to see. This is his fifth time in the challenge class. This is the person that he is chasing. It's the Pain combination in another 2003 Subaru WRX. There's a lot of Subarus in the challenge class, and it shows, Nick, that the all-wheel drive Subarus and Evos are still such a fast piece of kit.
They are, and hence they're the weapon of choice for so many people, both on gravel and on tarmac. You can see how competitive they still are. Very, very tunable, and sure, they might have come off the rack with a couple of 100 kilowatts, but you can bet that most of these cars would be running 300 kilowatts plus.
This car had a problem yesterday. Wheeler was right up the front. He was the Mitsubishi Joker in the Subaru battle. Sadly, though, retired early yesterday with, I believe, mechanical dramas. So great to see that back out there, but unfortunately now at the tail of the field. But really, really good performer throughout the first day and a half of proceedings. The next car through, though, Nick, is one that you know quite a lot about.
And if you want to talk rare, have a look at this. If you've lived in the Barossa, then you would know the name Fechner. They are an institution in the Barossa Valley. This is Corey Fechner driving the genuine article BMW E30 M3. You can see the pumped guards on it. Very much a part of that era of race cars. Those side guards, like a 7-speed Escort. This car sounds incredible, and he's putting in a real quick run through here.
Don't know what car's taken off. Oh, who else could it be with smoke pouring from the tyres but Robbie Brocklebank? This is 6th time in the rally. He is always committed, always on the ragged edge, and he's pushing the limits here today. He was third outright in challenge in one of the stages yesterday. A remarkable performance in such a small CC'd car, and such an old car as well. You can see why he did competition last year, but this year stepping back to challenge to try and fight amongst the podium positions, and it's been all weekend long in a great battle with this VW Polo.
And when you lower the maximum speed, Dan, corner speed becomes so important.
Yes,
so
correct.
Your commitment becomes the focus of that class. Sure, you're not going at some ridiculous warp speed, but how quickly you can link those corners together, how good your notes are, that's all coming to the forefront, and that's how you're just going to pip the other guys around you.
And up next we have the Mini Cooper heading towards the first sequence of corners. This has been another one that's in and amongst that Polo, Toyota Corolla battle. They're very similar powered engine-wise and commitment-wise as well, with Greg Swiggs behind the wheel. Unfortunately, dropped down the order a little bit yesterday, but good to see it back out on the road today after a couple of DNFs in a couple of stages. Now these guys are stalwarts of the Adelaide Rally. He said I couldn't call them veterans, so today I'll call them stalwarts. It's John Connolly and Michael McMichael.
Be kind, Dan. John Connolly, a motoring writer for The Australian. You can read his column on a Saturday morning. And Michael McMichael, anyone who owns a BMW in Adelaide, has probably had their car fettled by Michael at his workshop in Stepney at some point in time. He's just made the decision to retire and sold the business on, but he has been a part, together with Roger Harrison in the early days, always been a part of the BMW scene in Adelaide. He even ran a JPS 635 lookalike in the Colin Grove Hill Climb some years ago, and yeah, he's had a lot of drives and a lot of experience. We move from the ridiculous to the sublime, probably the most versatile race car of all time. The Hyundai XL, used, very affordable. It's our sweet car today, used for circuit racing, hill climbs, gravel, tarmac, and going to the shops to get position shoes.
And the leader of the TSD class. So TSD we are in now, time, distance and speed. It's all about hitting a target stage time, so it's not about outright speed now, this class. It's about trying to hit the target time designated by the race officials. For every second you are slower than it, you get a 1 point penalty. For every second you are faster than it, you get slapped with a hefty 5-second penalty. So it's better to be ever so slightly slower than it is faster. And I think we're going in reverse order of the competition at the moment. So I'm just checking. At the moment it's pretty tight for second at the moment, including this car, so we're not going in reverse order like we did yesterday. Barker has overtaken, has claimed second position early on this morning. Sat a comfortable third yesterday, but a few penalties from Anthony Daly and Cameron Vanden Heuvel in their Hyundai has meant that they have claimed second position, so a change in the order early this morning in TSD.
I'm glad you had to pronounce that one, Dan, because I'm getting a bit tired and I don't think I would have got Vanden Heuvel quite right. But if you like a bit of a steer and you've got a mate who likes maths, this is the category for you, because you're going to have to work out on the fly whether you're going too quick or too slow, and somehow you're going to arrive at that finish, flying finish, right on the time. Now, you can't just stop to get your time right. You've got a maximum speed of 120, but a minimum speed of 20. And so that's what makes this category so competitive. But what blows my mind, Dan, is the guys who are leading it, are they still without point loss?
I think they've currently now got around about, let me just have a look, 44 points. So
they did the longest stage of the rally, the Cherryville Plus stage, twice. That's 40 kilometres they did without losing 1 point.
It's remarkable, isn't it? 19.5 kilometres in length, and they were second accurate to the second. The great thing about this category though, Nick, is whether you've got an old Escort, an old Ferrari, a modern hot hatch, you can be equally as competitive, and this is something different again, an old Alfa.
Alfa Romeo GTV, 2-litre twin cam, couple of side draft carburetors on it, with the De Dion rear suspension, so beautifully composed, always neutral in corners, 50-50 weight balance, and they were designed by the very famous Italian designer, Giorgetto Giugiaro from Ital Design, formerly worked for Bertoni. But you can see they're a timeless shape, still a hit with fans today, and being punted very well through that stage. This is a Volkswagen Golf. And that colour, just in case you weren't sure, is called turmeric. So if you love your curry, you understand why that name comes up, turmeric. But again, the Golf showing the compliance in the suspension, just nicely rolling through the corners but maintaining grip all the time. So beautifully balanced car. They've been probably one of the most hot hatches, the most successful hot hatches in world history, the Volkswagen Golf, and plenty of millions of them being produced over time.
Yeah, certainly have been, haven't they, from all the way back in the late 80s, the original Mark 1, a proper hot hatch, really the birth of the hot hatch. And they've had well over 8 marks. I've lost count now. I think we're probably at Mark 10 in terms of various different iterations. Every 3 or 4 years we get a new Golf. But the front runners in TSD are just starting on the line. I think it's the Hyundai that is in position number 2 currently, is it? Can't quite see from the iconic, the awesome, the spectacular drone shots. Aren't we privileged to be able to fly the drone over these streets? Oh no, it's the leader in TSD, the reigning champions and the current leaders in TSD currently. It's Chris Oldacre and David Greaves. But the one thing about TSD, Nick, as we can see, is really slowed down at the end of the stage.
Yep.
He's trying to get the time just right. But I was going to say, with the way TSD is, you can almost throw it all away at the last stage. If you're just a few seconds too fast, all your weekend's work is done.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and interview those guys when they come around again. And my question to them will be, how? How on earth do you do a 20-kilometre stage and arrive right on time to the second and then do it again?
Absolutely, we're seeing something different again. Nissan 200 SX heading up there. Oh, sorry, that's a Mazda RX-7, sorry, wasn't it? They're currently in position number 5. I just caught the end of it and then I worked out what I actually saw. So that was Glenn Benham and Paul Benham, their wheeler, their Mazda RX-7. As I say, they're in a great battle with the Mini Cooper that we're looking at the moment in the fight for 4th position. They're separated by Nick by just 17 points heading into the final day.
Pretty easy to make up or lose, isn't it, Dan?
Certainly is. That's only 4 seconds too early at one stage, and that's a change of position.
That's right. We've talked about the allure of this class. The interesting point about this is the guys who do it, they do it again and again and again. It becomes so competitive and so obsessive that you just want to go back, hey, I know we could have got that right. Why did we blow that last year? And you're back again to try and improve on last year's performance and beat that other guy.
Yeah, certainly are. As you see the Subaru going through the stage, and then the stage closing course car. So
our hero from Hermitage yesterday, Dan, who almost provided the biggest entertainment of the day when he ran wide on the exit of the hairpin, drove up the bank, and for one dreadful minute we thought that it was going to go on its roof. But well driven, it took care of it and brought it back down to safety. So thank you for that extra bit of entertainment yesterday. We all liked it.
Yes, entertainment that we didn't expect. So that concludes the first run through the Strathalbyn town stage for today as we look down upon the little town of Strathalbyn in the Adelaide Hills. There is another run set to commence in just a few minutes' time. So stay with us. We're going to conclude this live stream, but we are going to start another one in just a second. But thank you, Nick, for all your work, being a busy man, jumping up and down the commentary box and interviewing the celebs here today.
Mate, always happy to rub shoulders with a few stars. And Dylan is going to give me a copy of that video so I can put it on my CV. Tell all my mates. I'll be able to dine out on that for some time. Been a pleasure. We'll be back soon for our second run through of the Strathalbyn Super Special Spectator Stage.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nick Lenthal. I'm Dan McCarthy. We'll be back with you in just a few minutes' time. Thank you for watching on the live stream. We will see you in a few minutes.